Hey, welcome to my show, and today we're going to do a failure analysis on a Spence inch and a quarter steam pressure reducing valve. This was installed, this is probably one of the first ones, I think it is the first one that I ever installed, and it was installed in the basement of the Zion Lutheran Church, and there are a couple of pictures and videos of this thing operating, and eventually it stopped working. And I really couldn't figure out why. I was able to get the heat on, at least temporarily, by removing this plug, and the steam started coming out of this plug, but the valve would stroke open and I could get heat to the sanctuary. So that seemed to point to the disc, which is located in between these two pieces here, which is made of stainless steel, actually two pieces of certain diameter stainless steel. Thickness was relatively like a sheet of paper, and they were like two pieces, and they eventually could fail, and you can replace them and get the system back online. So there are 16 bolts that go on here. In here is where the steam pressure is applied from the pilot assembly, and you need about 3 psi in order to stroke the valve open, I believe. And you remove the bolts, which are fine thread. In this particular case, they were 15/16 fine thread. This is the inside. This is this surface on which the stainless steel diaphragm engages. I think if you can look closely, there's sort of a material there, which I believe, here's some here, hardened material. Let's see if I can get there it is. Hardened material, which I believe is called copalite. Some of you Navy guys watching this might be familiar with that material. I'm not. I've only seen it in the instructions on rebuilding this thing. But it turned out that when I looked at the stainless steel sheet metal that was in here, there was nothing wrong with it. Completely intact. So I had no idea what was going on. So I set this thing aside to do a further teardown to see what went wrong. I had opened this before several times in the life's existence because when this was installed, there was no room to put a strainer, and material was arriving, which got in between the seat and the top nut, which then shoved this thing open. So I've had this apart a couple of times. There's the directional aerial, so the steam arrives right where my finger is, and this is held with a spring. So as you apply steam at the bottom other side of the diaphragm, it pushes against this disc, and that's pretty much there's a little bit more travel, but not a whole lot more travel than that. And it lifts this portion up here. Now there are two nuts. You need a deep, I used a deep 9/16 socket to remove this first nut. It comes off. And there's a jam nut. And, let's see if I can take the pressure off there. I got the other nut off. I spun it off for you. Coming off. There it is. Thank you for your patience. Eventually, there we go. Pretty long thread there, as you can see. And this is the top portion. You can see there's a little groove there worn by the seat. If you oversize the valve, what will happen is that will what they call wire draw. So you want to size this properly. And then here is the bottom. Let's see if I can get her out. and I think you can see that that cracked. So the remainder is threaded in the body there. And this failed, which would allow steam to pass in below and equalize the pressure on the other side of the diaphragm, keeping it closed. And so that's why this failed. Kind of an unusual failure mode. I don't know if this was due to the fact that they may have over torqued it at the factory. Not sure. There it is. So that completes the failure analysis of this Spence valve, and the new Spence valve was installed and is working. A pilot was replaced at least twice in the lifespan of this, so this lasted over 10 years. There's the spring which forces these two closed. There you go. So, and I commend you to the other videos which show a cross section of one of these, and I really ask that you watch this to the end, comment, like or dislike, subscribe, because there's not many of these out there, and the algorithm of the YouTube tends to bury this stuff because it's rather obscure. But thank you very much anyway. Thank you for watching to the end. I'll see you on the next one.